Okay, so here is week 6 of our hybrid learning. We are going to get to the end of Indian independence this week, and we're going to look specifically at day 1 at the effects of Indian independence. You're going to read this text. It's about 7 pages, and it breaks up into several different little pieces. Some of the things that kind of occur as a result of this independence, obviously based off of the partition and some of the division between the different ethnic and political groups in India. There are some pretty drastic acts of violence that rise out of that. So you're going to complete this reading and you're going to fill out this Google Doc. So basically for each one of these, you are going to provide a sentence summary of what happens or what is significant, a picture that describes the event, and then finally a question with an answer about it. So kind of similar to what we did with the vocabulary assignment, but based off of this reading. So it's kind of like taking reading notes. And you're going to submit that there. And then that'll bring us to the day 2, which will be a combination of a quiz, some pretty short quiz that just kind of sees if you took some notes during the last couple weeks. You can use your notes on these. And it is a summative score. So it'll be resumable, and you'll be able to take it and hopefully finish it by the end of the week. The one part of the summative, though, that's going to be a little bit more extensive, so this is also a summative score, is you are going to do kind of similar to what you did a couple weeks ago with some of those ideas of Gandhi, is you are going to do, or for World War II and Indian independence, is you're going to create a graphic organizer and then use that to write a thesis and essay frame and outline. So you're going to do kind of 2 things. First, you're going to use this graphic organizer, which is right here, to answer questions. And this is really focused on the entire unit. So a lot of these things you should have the background information done as long as you've been keeping up with your work. And you're really just looking for kind of 1 or 2 sentence answers to this. It's not supposed to be too significantly, overwhelmingly detailed. The basic idea is that you have something to kind of look at the idea of origins and methods and formation of and to challenge of post-colonial governments. So that's kind of the ultimate idea of what you have to do that. Now the second part is which, if you want to add and just keep this, you can add to this document and do your thesis and your outline attached to it. Basically then, using this chart, you're going to pull out details that you're going to eventually use to answer this question. Political and economic instability in the decade after independence was the colonial legacy. To what extent do you agree with this statement with reference to Indian independence? So one of the things that the paper 2 exam does is it gets you to really look at kind of overachieving ideas or overarching ideas of a topic. And eventually what it'll do is it'll really force you to compare different regions. But in the beginning, we're going to just start with the idea of how to frame this out. And so this thing is something you're going to need to go through. This basically gives a sample of how you should structure the essay and an analytical essay. And we've done a little of this already. We've talked about how you should have an argument with a point and a counter argument. And so kind of the idea of what you want to do is get into several paragraphs, which would be kind of like paragraph 1 with an argument and a counter argument. And then you would provide another argument with a counter argument. And so the idea is that you kind of go into this idea of, well, this is why it should be and this is why it shouldn't be. So ultimately, and I'll talk a little bit in class about what this is and what Peel means, but basically you want to just provide a point, give evidence, and then kind of follow that up with a counterpoint and evidence. And then ultimately all of this should play with your thesis or what your main overall evaluation is. And so in the end, you're going to provide us with basically kind of, let me get back to this chart. A lot of that question in one of your summative is which part of this chart is that question asking, or about where is it focused on. And so that's kind of a main idea of what I'm just trying to look for you to be able to do in the summative is what information from here is going to make up your analysis. So it's not like you're writing an essay. You're just doing a thesis and an essay frame, which is more or less just an outline of what you're going to argue to back up that thesis. All right? If you have any questions, please send me a message or an email, preferably in the hours of when one is awake. So, if you need immediate response, email if it's after 3 o'clock, Schoology Messenger if it's within the school day.